All right, hey, let me make sure this is all working. So I'm sort of just jumping on here now with nothing specific to do. I just want to be available for people. It is Tuesday, it's a little after 2 o'clock, and I do my best to get here all the time. So I'm sort of here right now. Today's a bit of a mess on my end. I've got a dog barking in the background. It's definitely driving me crazy. I'm incredibly tilted right now because I've been going back through the full course and editing it to make it even easier for people. And I came across a video where the audio is not synced all the time, and just going through these little, like, because it was a stream on YouTube, and it just went in and out and in and out constantly. And that in and out, for me, I have to go and fix it all, and it's just a lot of work. So I'm a little bit tilted from doing like very fine-tuned video editing right now. But I did want to share something with you guys. I wanted you to be able to see it. And let me just make sure everything's working here. So I've got, and I'm here so you guys can ask whatever questions you want throughout. Totally available for that. Totally fine with that. And I want to show you guys some of the stuff I got working on. Yeah. So I'm going to do that, and I'll answer questions throughout as we go, and we'll sort of have some fun today. And then I'll get back to interviewing people again pretty soon, and we can have fun with that as well. But let's see. So it says 1831, and I have to include a window capture, which I'll do. What do I got captured right now? Nothing. All right, so then I go and I find Final Cut Pro. That's my. So this this thing I'm going to show you right now is it's all like crazy big, huh? Yeah, that's what happens. So what I'm going to show you guys right now, we've got me with Final Cut Pro open, and this is the poker vlog that I'm going through and I'm editing. And it was really, really cool to get to record in the room. As you can see, we've got footage of the actual table, which they generally don't allow. I did this with, you can see right here, live poker coaching. I did this with Mike Lockey. He's the one who is close to the director of the poker room there. And that meant that we were able to do this in the first place. And so I'm going to sort of play a hand so that you guys can see the footage that I was able to get. And you know, it's a little bit of a spoiler to the session. You get to see one of the hands that I'll probably include, but at the same time, I think it'll be fun and fun. And again, I'm here to answer your questions right now. I'm going to spend less time with you than normal, probably be here until about 2:45, maybe 3 o'clock. But should be fine, right? And just know I'm working. I've been working a lot lately. So here, let's take a look at this. Let me move this down a little bit so we can get it a little bit bigger. Nothing to inspect, right? I've had to learn a lot of software in order to be able to do this in my journey, right? My head's in the way a little. That's all right. I'm going to move me over, actually. Put me over here, because that doesn't matter. And what else? So let's take a look here, okay? So this is a hand that first you can see we've got, that's Mike's view, and this is my view. All right, so we'll start with my view here. I don't have the sound's on in my headphones, but I don't think you guys can hear it. You know what? Let me make it so you can hear it. So I got the camera set up. You can see Mike right there. I am going to blur out the people, although this is a friend of ours, so I imagine he's fine with me putting this here. He helped us get the game going. But we've got hours like this.
Oh, nice. That's very cool. Yeah.
So you can see I had an ace king there. I am going to lower the sound a little bit now because it's blaring. And so you can see I raised there. Now, what I'll do, just so you can see what it's like, because I'll be able to do this, is then we can go back to this view, right? So you've seen what I have. We'll put like ace king up in the corner, and I got called by somebody. You can hear what it's like at the table. There's the conversation going. You can hear that echo in the sound because I think I've got two different sounds playing at the same time. That's just me. It's not really how it works. Now it's a little bit quieter, smoother. So you can see there, let me do this. You can see there, I have ace king and a king 8, or it looks like a king 8 4 flopped. So what do you guys think I'm gonna do? What do you think my action will be in this moment right here? I'll ask that question and let it sit for a second. You know, you can see here, I'm in this hand, and you know, here's me with my perspective, and I flopped top pair. I raised pre-flop. I got 2 callers. I had ace king off, king 8 4 flopped. So the question is, what am I going to do? You can say what your guess is, and I'll play it in a second. And I'm just gonna hit play because it's fun. And here I bet, looks like 15, which there's about $30 in the pot, and I'm not gonna say that that's a very big bet. There may be some logic to what I did there, there may not. Let's see what happens next. We get 1 caller and a fold. So now we're heads up. And let's see what the turn is. That turn is a 5. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I can. And here I go, I bet again. How much was that? So I'll go, like when I create the actual video, I'll go to this angle for that, and we can actually look at how that'll look. So here it comes. And there's that bet. And what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 35, right? And let's go back to this view. And we do get called here. We don't know if we're ahead for sure or not, but we have a pretty good idea where we're at. And the river there is a queen. And so the question is, what do we do here? So I'm just sort of giving you guys a little sample of what it's like. Linda retracted a message. I don't know what the message was, but it would have been cool if I knew. But yeah, so we'll see what happens next, right? Yeah, I'll check it out with you guys. Let's take a look. So I'm just, wait, where's the board's already out, right? Ooh, I skipped ahead, so I might have given it away here. But the answer is I check, and the reason I check on that queen is I know for sure that anything that's beating me is going to call. The board didn't run out perfectly. I think there were clubs out there, and I figure I might as well, since I'm going to be putting more money in there most likely, I might as well give somebody an opportunity to bluff at it. And that's what we ended up doing. And he went for, looks like 65. And we called. And he showed 1 pair with a misdraw. And he would have never called had I bet the river. So look, those are the types of hands that we get to enjoy right now. And yeah, but I'm mostly here to, I'm gonna get rid of that screen. I'm mostly here right now to just be available, answer questions. I know a lot of my recent live streams have been very, they've been very focused on the interview that I've been doing, and I haven't just been here and available for people that want to ask things. So right now, my intention is to just be here and be available. So any questions that you guys have, I'll just be right here, and I'm totally fine just being right here. It's definitely a nice break from the very long, like 2.5 hour interview, to just sort of pop in, and anybody who wants to know anything. I did play poker the other day. It was an interesting session. While I was playing poker, I was at the Hard Rock in Florida. I went to the table, and there was a dealer there who turned to me. I had my Truepokerdealer mask on. Where is it? It's right here. So I'm sitting there playing poker, and I'm wearing this. Just like this at the table. And the dealer says, or a player says, "So you're a poker dealer?" And he sort of laughs. And I was like, well, technically not anymore, but I do have a YouTube channel. And so the dealer then is like, you have a YouTube channel for dealing poker? And I said, well, yeah, I teach a lot of people how to deal poker. It's sort of my thing. And I was like, I might have taught you. I was like, how long have you been doing it? He told me, I learned in jail. It's one of those things where if you're me at that point, you just like, I don't really care whether it's true or not. I'm just not gonna interact with that very much. I'm like, oh, okay. But then after he got tapped out, he went and told the next dealer that was coming in, this guy is on YouTube. He teaches people how to deal. And the guy looks at me. He's like, what's your last name? I say Shumsker. And he's like, you were at Calder. So I've actually worked with the next dealer that came in for a very, very short period of time, about 7 years ago. And he, we were talking about how Calder, which is the casino that we worked at together, which had closed their poker room, which is a long story for why they decided to do that. That was after I left. They are reopening, and they had actually reached out to me, the management did, which was really cool of them, and asked if I was interested in applying to run the room. And at the end of the day, it wasn't the right fit for me, and I wasn't looking to do that. And he was telling me how bummed he was because he would have loved to go and actually work there, which was it was a cool conversation. I felt pretty weird. This comes up a lot for me specifically. People start talking to me when I'm playing poker, especially if they're the dealer, and dealers really aren't supposed to do that. But he's not my student, he's working in a poker room. And so I just sort of try to limit the conversation to a degree, but at the same time, I also want to be friendly and social, especially with somebody that I've worked with in the past. So, I allowed it to happen, but it was a pretty cool thing. And, it's always nice to get the compliment that people would like to work in a room that I run. Question here, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, and I apologize for that. It looks like Eligio says, becoming a dealer, does becoming a poker dealer require perfect math abilities? The answer is absolutely not. Now, if you have a very difficult time with math, you might be a little bit slower when it comes to the process of going from zero to hero, right? So as someone that's trying to learn how to be a poker dealer, there is some math that you have to do. But it's not like you're sitting there trying to do trigonometry and stuff, right? Like the type of math that you see in basic algebra is well advanced beyond the type of math that you would be doing at a poker table. The type of math you do at a poker table is what is 3 times 30 sometimes, right? Or there's 4 players for $6 each. How much is in the pot? Those things, even if they're hard for you, right? So even if that math is really challenging for you, you end up memorizing a lot of it, but it takes more practice for people that do have difficulty. As a general rule of thumb, you always, as a poker dealer, you want to be able to multiply all of the single digit numbers very easily and quickly, and you want to, give yourself a chance to learn different shortcuts as you go and to start memorizing some of what happens a lot. So, if you feel like you would have trouble with 4 players at $4 each, and then, that's 16, and then adding 3 players at another $4 each, which would be adding 12, which is 28. And then if you would have trouble adding 3 times 8, which would be 24, to 28. These are the basic things that poker dealers have to do on a regular basis. It's not like you're trying to solve for X and Y. It's not like you're trying to graph difficult equations. It's not like, none of that stuff is really relevant. It's your basic and quick stuff when it comes to math. But if you really hate doing those types of additions and multiplication problems, then, it might not be for you. I like to tell people when they're thinking about who should be a poker dealer, I actually say this to people when they're asking me, should I get your course online? Because, there's 2 different places you can buy the course now. You can buy the course through YouTube and just get a membership there, or you can actually buy it through Truepokerdealer.com now. And I make it so that you can get 6 months for the price of 3 months if you buy it all at once. And also buying it on the Truepokerdealer.com does give you the ability to, I'm going to put a bunch of tests and stuff like that in there. And I've already put some of them into that course to make it a bit smoother, because the stuff on YouTube doesn't really include as much of the training. I'm going to put some in there, but I'm really going to make this course on Truepokerdealer.com perfect, essentially. So, the point that I'm trying to make is, I tell people, well, hold on, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. It's gone. Man, it happens sometimes. I've had a lot of caffeine today, but yeah, in terms of the answer to the question, if anyone can jog my memory for what I was going to say, you guys are usually pretty good at this. But in terms of being good at math, this is what I was going to say. So I keep telling people that are looking hey, is this right for me? Should I try to be a poker dealer? Honestly, if you're somebody that works like a retail job or in a restaurant or something like that, and you outperform the people around you, you will be a great poker dealer almost all the time. Okay, so there is a reasonable amount of multitasking that goes on when dealing poker. And I walked into a Wawa the other day, and there was a woman that worked there, and you could just see that she was moving more quickly than everybody else, and the stuff that she was doing was pretty accurate. The coffee that she'd made was on point. The register work that she did was on point and clean and all that stuff. If you're outperforming other people at your job, being a poker dealer is going to be great for you, because I tell people you make $25 to $40 an hour. Well, if you outperform other people at your job, you're going to be closer to 40. Why? Because the more hands you get out as a poker dealer, the more money you make. If you deal 15 hands every 30 minutes, that's going to get you an average of probably $20 per table, and multiply that by 2 tables per hour, right? So if you deal 15 hands every 30 minutes, you're getting tipped for 15 hands. If you deal 13 hands every 30 minutes, you're getting tipped for 13 hands. If you deal 16 hands every 30 minutes, you're getting tipped for 16 hands. The better you are, the faster you go, the more money you make. It's just that simple. And follow-up question, do you have to pay for the training course? Who does these training courses? I mean, are there certified training entries for this, I think you're asking. So first, I want to just be very, very careful and clear here. I don't know as much about dealing poker in other countries outside the United States. I know a lot about it, but when I talk about who this is right for, I'm really speaking for specifically in the United States. You asked, do you have to pay for the training course? Yeah, I charge, it's $50 a month on YouTube. And if you want to go on Truepokerdealer.com, YouTube course is great, don't get me wrong. And I take a lot of this stuff from YouTube and put it on Truepokerdealer.com's course. But if it's $50 a month for the all Texas Hold'em lessons, you just join the channel on YouTube. You're on YouTube right now. You just click the join button and you can see. That'll get you the basic, be able to pass a casino dealer audition. And you go through it as quickly as you want. And then you said, who does these? I made all of them. It's all me. And in terms of certified training courses for this, most casinos do not require that you actually have a dealer certification from anywhere. The dealer certifications that you see are sort of just because you've taken a course and you want to be able to finish it. The thing that I offer is after you finish the course, you can then book a session with me and we can do an audition, a video audition. And the people that I've done video auditions with have had a much easier time. Like, you learn all this stuff when you take my course, whether it's YouTube or on Truepokerdealer.com, you get the same result. And then if you book a video audition with me, we go through and I really challenge you for about an hour or so. And throughout the hour, I'm stopping you whenever I see something that needs to be corrected. And what happens after that's done, I then tell you, okay, now rewatch this. I give you a copy of the video. You can download it for yourself. I tell you, rewatch this video and practice. Every time I tell you do this thing differently, stop the video and practice dealing until you have made that a habit. And then once you've done that, say there's 15 or 20 things throughout that hour. Once you've done that for all those 15 or 20 things and you've cleaned up your dealing to polish it and make it pretty much in line with what I would expect as the person doing auditions, because I've auditioned like almost 1,000 people in my life. That's a lot of auditions. Each one takes like 15 to 25 minutes. So, once you've got to the point where you've retrained yourself for all these things I've corrected in that 1 hour audition video, then you should be ready to pass just about any audition. That's the experience that people have had so far. So, look, I mean, the simplest place, if you want to try it out, the simplest thing to do is, honestly, you don't even have to get the course right away, because lessons 1 through, I want to say 6 on YouTube are free. You can just start watching the lessons, right? You can learn how to shuffle, you can learn how to pitch, you can learn how to cut chips and handle chips. And then if you like all that, then you'll know whether or not you want to continue. And I'm totally fine with that. I like keeping it that way for free because I like the fact that people are learning the mechanics sort of universally, and my intent is to sort of be there for the industry too. But I'm also I made the decision to start charging for this because if I didn't do that, there was no way I could justify continuing it. And by deciding to charge for it, I officially finished the course. You know, it wasn't finished for about 7 years because I didn't feel right charging for it. And now I just realized, well, it's better to have it. So I'm totally down with that. Fazale says, the bad guys closed the restaurant, so I'm jobless now. Maybe I'll get back to practicing dealing. Are the casinos open yet? Depends what state you're in. I know in Florida there's poker rooms that are open. I'm told that California just closed them until next year, which is just about a week away. A lot of poker rooms are open. I know Texas is opening some now. I know Virginia. I actually I do consulting for a room in Virginia where they just passed different laws. They changed the laws for charitable gaming. So one of the charitable gaming organizations out there is opening a poker room in Virginia. You can check out my live stream. I actually interviewed him. You can check out my channel is what I meant to say. I interviewed him, and in the video you can find his contact info if you want to be able to reach out and try to get a job there. But yeah, I think you can get jobs as dealers right now. You can join Facebook groups if you want to be able to find out what rooms are opening. There's a lot of poker dealer Facebook groups that have a lot of info on where you can get jobs, or you could reach out to me. I don't know what area you live in. You said, by the way, years ago you were my inspiration. Well, I appreciate that. That's really cool of you. Let's see. Eligio says, I have already watched all your videos and I am a player but playing just with friends. But I am a good player and I am applying your tips for a better poker experience, dealing all the time. And I've learned a lot with your videos. I am from Italy. Oh, cool. So being from Italy, I can't speak as much to what the expectations of the staff are there. However, I do definitely have people who have learned from me that are in Italy. My course will definitely help you learn how to deal poker. The thing I'm basically trying to say is I go into a lot about what you're supposed to do as a dealer, and I also go into a lot about the common practices and teaching you what it's like to be in a casino. Because I find that, people don't generally talk about this, but what they teach in a typical poker dealer school is what you need to pass an audition. But then when you've passed your audition, there's a lot of stuff that comes up actually in a casino that you've never dealt with before and you haven't been taught. And so you have to learn it on the fly, and it can be a bit overwhelming. And it can also cause people to, like a lot of people just don't like that feeling of having situation after situation for days that they've just not ever experienced. So I teach a lot of that stuff as well. Let's see. Fazale says, I live in the UK, probably need to check London. Eligio, I'm living near the casino of Venice. Oh, cool. That's interesting. I have been to Venice, and I did go into a casino in Venice. It was I think it was right on the Grand Canal. I don't remember any poker there at the time. What I remember was I went in there, and this was 2005, so it was a long time ago. But I went in there, and they had like dealers at sort of blank tables, and they would just say, well, what do you want to play? And so I was like, oh, I think we asked to play, well, we definitely played roulette. This was before I even worked as a poker dealer. This was 15 years ago, but almost 16 years ago now. Greg says, hello, Mark. I hope we can play again soon. Yeah, listen, my table is a mess at the moment. So it collapsed. This table that I spoke so highly of, it was $180. I really do love it, but it was $180 for a reason, and it fell, and all my chips went everywhere, and now it's broken in 3 different pieces. And I think what I'm going to do, I can still use it as a tabletop, but I have to buy a dining room table for it. So we can get back to playing soon, unless you're just talking about playing in poker. Is Mohegan Sun in the rooms in like Encore in the rooms you usually play at, Greg? Are they open right now? By the way, I have no idea if poker is open in Italy. I have no idea if poker is open in the UK. I'm actually sort of curious if you guys know the answer to that. And I'm sorry to hear that the restaurants are closed. That stinks for sure. But I mean, in the US, there are definitely a lot of poker rooms that are open that people are working in. Like I said, I've played in some. You guys saw the video I put. We're all wearing masks, and that was like 2-3 weeks ago in Tampa. Fazale says, have you ever played Badugi or any other variances we'll say varieties of poker? Love Badugi, but never seen it outside Vegas. Played it, like, I've never played it for money in a casino. I have played it in a training setting many different times. I have dealt it in a casino years ago when I dealt poker. I've supervised it as well. It's definitely a fun game. It's one of those games where, what's the thing I want to say here? People like it who have money that want to break from the monotony of constantly playing Texas Hold'em or flop games in general. And also, it's really good for high limit players because it gives them an opportunity to get new, like, people with a lot of money will play games just because it's cool. It's a cool experience, and they'll play for high limits if that's what's being offered. So you get people that don't really play a ton of poker or are completely new to Badugi playing with people who are pros that are experienced, and it can be pretty interesting. But yeah, I enjoy the game very much. I also enjoy Badusi and Badesi. I actually teach Badugi, Badusi, Badesi, and some of the other variations of that on YouTube, and you can join the channel. It's in the bonus mixed game course because they teach it in the World Series of Poker, and so I put together a secondary course that gives everybody the mixed games, like Omaha and all the stud variations and the draw games, like those. I teach all that stuff in the bonus mixed games course for anybody that wants to be able to deal the WSOP, which, I mean, right now the WSOP is a different thing. So I've got a handful of people in that course, and they seem to really like it, but there's not as much of a need for it at the moment. But I figured, the Texas Hold'em one went really well, so I might as well just make it. And so I did. We'll definitely check out the bees. Yeah, and I mean, just for you as a follow-up, Eligio, I believe that you would enjoy, if you've already watched all of my videos that are available for free on YouTube, I believe you would enjoy, like, the working in the bank and all that type of stuff. There's just, I can even show it to you. Let me do that. Hold on. A lot of stuff to go through here. I gotta figure out, let's see, Chrome, live stream, YouTube, this one. Yeah, this looks good. So I can show you this right here, and we can go into the actual course. And I have been putting a ton of effort into going through these lessons and making them even cleaner for everybody. So you can see here, I probably just had my dashboard up that had a lot of info on it, huh? Oh well. Let me put this here for a second. Let's see. I'm looking at the lessons that I've got here. Let's see. I'll look at this one right here. How do I make this the right size? Boy, this thing is huge. All right. So you can see all of these lessons here. So you said you watched all of them, but there's working in the bank and bank maintenance, and this type of stuff is interesting. Like you can see here how to. Why is that with an ad? I'll fix that later. So you can see here we do a crazy buy-in. Why? Because I wanted to make it so that you guys knew what to do for the absolute most difficult situation, how to actually break that down. We do, what else do we do? Then we go into like all of these things. So I've got newly edited stuff where I actually set it up for these videos. You can see I'll do cash games as an example. So you can see here down in the description, it has all these different things that are in the actual video. And I believe you can see this even from outside of the video. So if you're not a member, I think you can still see this, but these link right to the location in the video. So anything that you want to see, you can literally just click on it and it'll bring you right to that section now. Which is taking, I'm going through all the lessons and doing that one at a time. It's taking a lot of time to get there, but it's pretty good. And let's see. I gotta find, where are you guys at? Here you are. Let's see. Linda said, just back from Vegas. Most of the rooms that are still there are reopened, but at 25% capacity. They're still having great games, just max 8 and more spread out. Yeah, a lot of the rooms that I've been at have been 7-handed. One of them was 8-handed. Some of them have like insane plexiglass. Some of them are just, people sitting next to each other. Eddie says we're open in Harris, Cherokee in North Carolina, 5-handed right now, except for PLO is 8-handed, and after New Year's, our tables will go to 8-handed with plexiglass dividers. Very nice. Michael says fancy. Yep. It is fancy. So, I mean, yeah, it's been interesting in the industry right now for sure. And I definitely appreciate you guys jumping in and chatting and stuff like that. But boy, learning, going through, first of all, being on YouTube is fascinating. Learning to do video editing, my brain before any of this video stuff on YouTube was just very casino oriented, right? Like learning how to do this stuff. It's another thing altogether to learn how to do this and also figure out how to communicate it with video. And all of this editing stuff is really, really crazy. I've been working right now on a video, lesson 26 and 27. If you have a membership, I did not realize that the audio was not synced all the time. It was the live stream at the time, kept going in and out in terms of the speed. And YouTube had been having issues. The day before that, for the previous one, YouTube actually went down during the lesson on the showdown. And so I had to update and fix that one. It's just a weird fluke where there were 2 days in a row where YouTube was having some trouble, and so I had to go through and edit all this stuff. It's been a lot, but it's been cool, and I'm very happy about it. But yeah, I figured I'd jump on here for a bit and just sort of say hi to everybody because it was Tuesday at 2:00, and that's what I like to do. Greg says I haven't played since February, and that was at Encore Boston Harbor. By the way, I was being low key about it. Mike Lockheed's the one that said fancy. Hey Mike, what's going on? I don't know if you're still watching right now, but it's cool that you're here and you're actually watching my live stream. You have been on my live stream multiple times. Mike and I created live poker coaching together where he's the coach. He's the one that knows how to deal poker or how to play poker, and it's amazing learning with him. And we have the live poker coaching, it's one word, live poker coaching YouTube channel. Right now there's 26 videos out there. We have a new format that we put together starting with hand 34 or video number 34, and that's going to be really, really good. But I'm happy that you're here and you're looking at this. Mike and I I interviewed him recently, and you guys should check it out. It's free. It's right on my channel. He talked about why you can become how to become a better poker player by getting a job as a poker dealer. And that video is fascinating. And, Eligio, which again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but you mentioned that you're a poker player that's looking to be a poker dealer potentially or considering doing that. Mike says, I'm hanging out for now. Eligio, you mentioned that you're a poker player thinking about being a poker dealer. Well, watch Mike's video, watch my interview with him, because the strategy that he has for being a poker dealer in order to improve your poker playing game is genius. I was a dealer for years. I did not understand this, and I wasted my time. I could have been I didn't waste my time because I made great money. I had a great time as a dealer and all that, but I could have also been improving my playing. And he had such good points and such good conversation there. So I really think that's a great watch. And I get that the video is pretty long. At some point I'd like to go back and turn it into short little videos and put on the channel, but it's there. Linda says, I'm not loving the plexiglass. Makes it difficult to hear the dealer and especially the other players. You know, I so that's really funny. Recently, I was talking to Mike about that, and he was saying that the dealers in one of the rooms in Tampa that have plexiglass, the glass is so strangely reflective that it looks like there's cards in seats that there aren't even cards. My understanding is that as a dealer, the plexiglass is probably even more annoying than as a player. I've played with the plexiglass. It makes the game super not social, which is sort of weird. Now, the more that we learn about COVID and how it spreads and stuff, the more I don't know that the plexiglass really does what we need it to do. But I understand the point of it. It's meant to completely have there be separation, and I mean, it sort of does that. It's like, it's weird though, because it's still sort of open air. I would like it to be full plexiglass on the sides maybe and nothing in the front, but it does make it very hard to hear other players in the dealer. I can't tell you how many times I've played and sort of had to like put my mouth way down underneath the plexiglass for someone to be able to hear me. That part's pretty strange. But look, my honest opinion is this is only going to last. I think that some of the things that we got out of this are going to stay in poker. I do think it's going to be good for poker in general. But I do think that this stuff is only going to be here as long as this pandemic continues to be something that affects us, such as the plexiglass. And, you know, it is what it is for right now, and we'll get through it. Greg says, yeah, playing with the plexiglass would give me a headache. So the funniest thing about it for me is it's like it's so hard for me to tell where the TVs are now sometimes. I was trying to watch a basketball game, and it was like through the plexiglass over there, but there were two different angles of plexiglass that I was looking through, so I couldn't see. But then when I looked to my right, there was a person to my right, but I'd be able to see the reflection of a television like up that way if I'm looking to my right. And like it was weird though, because I couldn't watch the TV off the plexiglass, even though it was super clear. I couldn't watch it because it looked like I was just staring at the guy next to me, which is super awkward. So there's all these weird little things that come up dealing with plexiglass, which I think is pretty funny. And I mean, honestly, I probably wouldn't have been playing poker that much now, except I feel like I need to know about this stuff as a true poker dealer. So I sort of have been doing it. Plus, working on live poker coaching with Mike, it just gives me the bug to play because I keep learning, oh my gosh, this is something that I could do in poker. Oh my God, this is something I could do in poker. Like there's all these things too that keep giving me the bug. But man, it's pretty cool and interesting. Yeah, honestly, I'm taking it this way. Playing poker with plexiglass, I almost feel like if you're lucky enough to give it a shot, yes, Linda, it's annoying sometimes, but if you're lucky enough to give it a shot, this is an experience that you're going to remember years later that other people aren't going to have. And I think there's something that's sort of cool about having been there for it, right? I mean, I like the fact that they're taking temperatures when you walk in the door. I think that that's really powerful. I think they'll probably keep that in casinos, honestly, because why do you want somebody coming in the casino that has a fever over 100, right? You don't want that. Let's just always do that. You know, there's some things that I think are going to end up being a positive out of this. Greg says, yeah, I so want to play too. Eddie says, out of 34 tables, we only have 2 with plexiglass. Boy, that's interesting that you guys would, if it's like, I feel like if you're going to do it. If you're not, don't. Were you guys just testing it out maybe? I mean, I guess I could see some scenarios where it wouldn't be automatic. But the rooms that I've played at that have plexiglass is just all of them. Mike says it's going to be automated with temp scanners. I tend to agree with you. Right now, there's a couple different methods that I've seen. And Mike, maybe you can speak to what you've seen in different places. But they have a temperature gun set up in some poker rooms with somebody monitoring the results of it as people are walking in. And that seems like that would probably stick around. If it's automated, that'd be even cooler, but I don't know how they like tell someone to leave without a person there, right? Maybe they just fall into a trap door and they go into the pit if they have a fever. Probably won't do that. But the other thing I've seen is there'll be like a little individual gun where you have to go stand in a certain place and wait there before you can go in. And that's actually a bit more cumbersome. I don't like it as much, but I guess that they didn't want to spend the money maybe. Um, but yeah, Joseph says, "Big Nip, what's up?" Hi. I don't know what big nip means. I guess I'm not with it, which it happens as you get older. Mike says, plexiglass seems more important at the high stakes games. Rich guys and their wives require it more. I think what you're saying is those are the people that are much more judgmental about it, right? So that's a take why 2 out of 34 tables could be useful. I see. So you're basically saying that it's there if anybody says that they absolutely want it, and that totally makes sense. I wonder. I have no idea how expensive the plexiglass setups are. I do know that the Hard Rock in Tampa recently went from a 7-player plexiglass setup to an 8-player per table plexiglass setup, which is interesting. It makes me think like it can't be that expensive. They're trying to get another person at every table. It's better, just as a little bit of economics here, it is better for the poker rooms to have 7-handed tables, because if they have 100 players let me do a number I can do easy math on, right? If they have 70 players, that's 10 tables if it's 7-handed. However, if it's 8-handed, that is 9 tables. Let's see. Greg says, I'm inclined to disagree with permanent temperature checks. That would create more work for security. Besides, how would that be enforced? Well, I mean, it would be enforced the same way it is now. My point is, yes, I understand that COVID is a pandemic, and I understand that it's incredibly important that we do temperature checks, since temperature is a major symptom of COVID. But what about after COVID is no longer a concern the way that we think it is? Well, it's still not good if you have a high fever. You still probably have something that's contagious, and you don't want to give that to somebody, right? You could have strep throat, you could have all kinds of things. So theoretically, it doesn't seem like a bad idea to keep temperature checks even after the pandemic, because if someone has a temperature, it's for a reason, and chances are they should not be at a casino. So let's just keep them, right? And yes, it is more work for security, but one, they've already been trained now how to do all that stuff because they're doing it now. And two, so what? They're casinos. They make an insane amount of money. I'm totally fine with them spending a little bit more money on security at the entrances. I mean, but at the same time, I do understand that maybe you don't want to filter people through specific entrances like we're doing now. Maybe, I mean, it might not stick around. They might just decide they don't want to bother with it anymore. They might just decide that it's easier not to. Who knows? But I'm saying I do feel comfortable knowing that people don't have temperatures walking in there, and it's something that you can't really fake. So it's just let's put it this way: I don't think I'd be playing poker without that, because there would be no way to know that. It's like, to me, it's very unlikely that somebody's knowingly in there if they don't have a temperature. Although I guess I don't really know enough about COVID anyway. Eddie says 5-handed without, but 8-handed with plexiglass. But after next year, all will be 8-handed with plexiglass. That makes sense too. So they're sort of building up to it, is what it sounds like. It's interesting. I should mention, if there's anybody out there that, so I like interviewing people. And I stopped reaching out to people just because I wasn't sure if I'd be available to do interviews this week and next week. But I still wanted to be on here once I realized that I could come on. But if there's anybody that wants to be interviewed or wants me to interview a certain person for True Poker Dealer, or knows what they want to hear a topic about for me to go over, I'd be interested in hearing that. And I'm certainly open to interviewing, poker players, poker dealers, and all that. As long as there's a specific thing that we're talking about. So, anything about that, I'm super down for it. So, reach out to me, mark@truepokerdealer.com, marc@truepokerdealer.com, if you want to be interviewed, or you know somebody that wants to be interviewed. I've got some cool stuff coming up for sure. I am still going to do that session on left-handed dealers. Greg says, I'd love to be interviewed if you want. So Greg, let's talk it out. What would I interview you for? Like, what's the topic? What are we going to focus on? What are we talking about? What's the exciting thing? Let's see. Eddie says we can temp S for guest and all employees every time you come and go in and out. And yes, Mark, I agree with you on temp check. I think you're basically saying you can continue to do it, right? we can be sure that you don't have a temperature. Yeah, Greg, what would you be interviewed for? What is the thing? By the way, because I've been going back and redoing all of these sessions or all of the lessons, I've really noticed how much I say and it absolutely kills me because I have to edit it out over and over again in all these other videos. I just hate myself for that. And so I'm trying right now to listen to myself saying, I still hear myself saying it a lot. Joseph says, does being a poker dealer help with your poker game? Yes, if you know how to do it. I brought up earlier that Michael Lockey, who is watching right now, I interviewed him on my channel. You can go back and find it. It's not that long ago, maybe a month ago. And we discussed the secret technique of his that is amazing, that can make you a better poker player while you deal. And all I can say is I wish I understood it when I was a poker dealer because I did not get the benefit of this. However, he is someone who is a pro poker player. He's amazing at the game, and he's used dealing to improve his skill. And that is a great video to watch. You will absolutely be a better poker player while you deal poker if you watch that and learn. Yes, it really can, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to have the right intention. You have to have the right understanding of what to be doing while you're dealing poker. It's not as simple as just dealing poker and automatically you're a better poker player. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up picking bad habits from the players, picking up bad habits from the players. If you do know what you're doing, you're going to be able to create really, really good, it's like gaining an education of how to play poker. Absolutely watch that video. It's a live stream I did not too long ago, and it's with Poker Pro Michael Lockey, who is watching right now, and it's freaking amazing. I wish I could have done that anytime you want. Greg says, ask me anything you want. Well, I don't have any poker content as yet, but I can certainly elaborate on how I got started. So you're saying that the interview could be what got you into poker and stuff like that. So here's my thing with that. I want to do stuff that I feel like I would be interested in hearing as someone that's watching True Poker Dealer, right? So if you had a story about what got you to become a dealer, I could see myself interviewing that. But I know that I don't think that you've become a dealer at this point. I know that your skills are pretty decent and you've been working on it and learning a lot. You probably know a ton about how to be a dealer at this point because I know you've had the course for a while. Let me see. Yeah, it would have to be something specific that I feel like, for example, I mentioned I have a friend who is a left-handed dealer, so we could do an interview that's all about that the whole time. Michael says dealing teaches you so much about people economics, psychology. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what you taught, and you also taught exactly what to do in that video. Exactly what to do. It's really cool to see that. Linda said, I was concerned. Let me see. Yes. Linda says, I was concerned with the temperature check because I was staying at the hotel. How would I get to my room if I'm not allowed through the casino? Are you saying if you have a temperature? I guess I don't understand your question, Linda. If you don't have a temperature, you're fine. If you do have a temperature, I don't know. I also don't really know. Yeah, I mean, I could see them telling you to go home and not be able to go to the hotel if you have a temperature. I guess I'm not sure what you're asking, though. I'm sorry. Joseph said, thanks. So that's right. Gloria says, do you show Omaha games as well? So I have a 10 lesson bonus mixed game course. You can actually join True Poker Dealer on YouTube in order to get access to that course. And it teaches all the Omaha stuff. The first lesson is free. So if you go to my playlist on True Poker Dealer on YouTube, you go to find the playlist section on my channel, you'll see the bonus mixed game ones. You can start with that first lesson there, and that is free. I took it from a live stream I did on Facebook about a year ago, and it's a method that you can do completely on your own at home to train yourself to read Omaha hands better. It's a great place to start, and then if you wanted to learn all the rest of it, you could just get the course on the YouTube channel by becoming a member of the bonus mixed games course. Let's see. And Gloria says, why are poker players the worst and the meanest players? Well, they are the only players. Poker by nature is a game of confrontation. And if you think about what that means, every single person that plays poker in a casino is comfortable trying to beat out other people in a confrontational dynamic, right? You're trying to get somebody else's money if you are a poker player. In order to do that, you have to be naturally comfortable going after somebody. You have to be naturally comfortable outsmarting them with an audience because you're there at a table with other people. You also have to have the kahunas to be able to be wrong and to lose. And there's just, in other words, it sort of takes a lot of nerve to be a poker player, and therefore that eliminates a lot of the nice people, and it leaves what it leaves, you know. And then on top of that, there's just a truth that people who like to be in casinos are sometimes there because they're not great with social dynamic, and being in casinos, it's free social interaction. It's automatic social interaction. If you go play poker, you're guaranteed to be able to interact with people. Whereas in the world, if you just sort of like walk around and try to find people to interact with, you're not going to automatically get that. And you know, I've had a lot of, as a poker room supervisor and shift manager, I got to have a lot of conversations with people who would tell me like they come in just to be able to interact with other people, honestly. And so, you know, people who do that, a lot of time they don't really know how to interact with others. And so it gets taken out on the dealer a lot, and you know, it's sort of the environment that was created as a result of it. It's also a very male-driven world. I put this up. I did a full live stream. You can get it in my live stream membership, and I did a full live stream on women in poker and how much harder it is to be a woman in poker. And people, you know, in the TDA summit in 2019. They did about 35 minutes worth of interviewing different women and their experience in poker rooms. And, you know, the bottom line is poker today in most poker rooms is not somewhere that a recreational female would want to spend her time, because there's cursing, there's like, it's a very male driven place. And the vibe is very male in that sense. And I mean, I actually think that if I were to run a poker room, that would be one of the focuses, because there's about 20% of players out there that are female that would absolutely come and play poker if it was the type of place they would want to go and hang out at. But because it's a confrontational thing by nature, and it was male-driven to start and all this stuff, it's got this identity for now. But that doesn't have to be permanent, honestly. Let's see. JH says, thanks for everything. I've learned a lot from your channel. I super appreciate that, and I'm very welcome, or you're very welcome. Greg says, my first session playing, I didn't even last one orbit. I'm sure many people have that same experience. Michael says, Gloria, some of them are lonely, sad, and scared, unfortunately. Yep. They're not, that title is reserved for high limit table games players. Well, high limit table games players are a completely separate thing, but poker players are sometimes. You know, it's true too. We have some we notice it when something's especially negative, and then when it's very neutral, we forget about it. So you know, it's not bad all the time by any means, but it does stand out that sometimes poker players aren't the nicest. Linda says, I'd love to see left-handed specific info. Well, great. I am still going to do that session. Unfortunately, the person who was going to do that with me had to postpone it. They still want to do it, but they had something come up with their grandparents. So I was more than happy to push that back. Eddie says, Mark, your lessons are awesome and good as it gets. Well, I very much appreciate that. Thanks, Eddie. Greg says, that's why I have a poker table comedy show. Now that should be on YouTube. If that's a real thing, Greg, and you really do have a poker table comedy show and you can perform it in an interview, that's something I would do. Michael says, time vampires can also get forced social interactions from brushes, dealers, massage therapists, cocktail girls, etc. Yes, Mike is speaking a sophisticated language when he says time vampires. For anyone that has not heard that term, a vampire is someone that like sucks something out of you, right? And in this case, a time vampire is somebody that just sucks up your time. They need social interaction, and you know, to be fair, we're all time vampires in moments at times, right? Where we suck up people's time and we might not even realize we're doing it. But it is very, very easy for somebody to get those types of forced social interactions from people that work in casinos or poker rooms, because all of the people that work in the casinos have to interact with you, for the most part, until there's a reason for them not to. It's the same thing with well, there's other industries like that. DM'd says, I know a lot of filthy ladies that make the dudes look like angels at the poker table. Right. Well, we shouldn't make it sound so one-sided. I'm not going to argue with that. But I do think that as a general thing, there's probably more male negative souls in casinos than female. Ramon says, hello, Mark. Ramon, you have this thing where you're like at the end of my live session just about every time now. It's sort of funny. But hey, B Buns dropping by to say hi. Hey, what's going on? You said, when did my membership expire? I don't know. YouTube gives me a surprisingly small amount of info about what the people who are members actually are. I've had 2 or 3 people tell me they want to cancel. One person said, my husband has a membership with you and he doesn't use it and I want to cancel. And I'm like, I don't have any control over that. You just go into your YouTube settings. And then they're like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Gloria says, where do you pit? Well, I haven't actually been a supervisor since 2016. And I haven't been a table games pit boss since 2009. But I used to work in poker and table games out in Washington State. And I also used to work in poker rooms as a supervisor in Florida. So that's where I was. Nowadays, you might find me either in poker rooms in South Florida playing or in Tampa occasionally. Let's see. Ramon says, yeah, I'm in the UK, different time. Casino Dealer J got a membership saying hi. This is, oh no, wait. Is it a membership? No, it's a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Saying hi, this is by far the best poker channel on YouTube. Stay safe and happy holidays. Appreciate you. Casino Dealer J, you are an amazing, amazing human. So many different ways. He also has a YouTube channel. You guys should go check out Casino Dealer J's YouTube channel. It's like sort of casual conversation. He does a great job. He interviews people. He's from Canada. It's a different experience up there. Not too different, but different. And he's got a ton of experience in table games alone. And he especially has some of the coolest chip tricks I've seen. Why? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're mostly a dice dealer, like as your passion, right? But I could totally be wrong about that. But I know you got skills because I've seen them on your channel. And I do wish that you're, subscribe to his channel, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to his channel. I did an interview on his channel once and it was a great experience. Let's see, Ramon says, that's why I couldn't watch more streams. Oh, I'm in the UK, time is different. That's right, and you've told me that before too. I apologize for not remembering. DM says, do you have a favorite poker room in America? Ooh, interesting. Favorite poker room in America. It's like I'm the type of person that takes these questions super seriously when I shouldn't, but I do. So I started playing poker in 2 different places years ago. It was like 2004. I would go to Foxwoods and I would go to Turning Stone. Foxwoods is in Connecticut. Turning Stone is in upstate New York. I really don't know what it's like to play poker in either of those in the last maybe 8 years, but I used to really like going out there. Turning Stone used to do this thing that I haven't seen since they did it, but whenever you would win a hand, there was a rake button in the pot and you would have to throw a $3 with the pot and give the rake button back every single hand. That was their way of making sure that they always got the rake. It was so weird to have the players have to give the rake to the dealer. But it did a couple of things. I totally get why nobody would do it anymore. I don't think it's a good idea to do, but it was interesting. Throwing a rake button back with your $3 rake, it also reminded you to tip. Like there was all these things that sort of came with that. It was sort of fascinating. And then Foxwoods, I have so many great memories of being there from, I want to say 2005 to 2007 to 2010 sometimes. And that was Greg. I know you go to Mohegan Sun a lot. That was back when Mohegan didn't have a poker room still. But that room, it used to just be absolutely full. And I think my favorite memory at Foxwoods was playing 1-2 no limit and then seeing that there was some crazy game where all these people were standing around and watching. And I went over when I was like early 20s and watched Doyle Brunson and a bunch of other people playing 2,000, 4,000 limit Omaha high, and like the chips were chips that I'd never seen before. They were such high denomination and all this stuff. And I still don't understand this because he doesn't seem like the type. But Doyle Brunson had all of his chips laying on their side and in a complete mess at the limit game, and I just didn't understand why he would do that. It was almost like it wasn't like he'd won a pot and he had them all like scattered. The way that he had his chips was in like tubes, kind of coming back toward him. But all over the table. It was so confusing and interesting, but it was like that. I kept going over to watch it periodically, and the security was standing there, but they would let me get close enough where I could go see. I was like a kid in a candy store. It was really cool. So I think those are it. I mean, down in South Florida, I do like the Hard Rock. I do like I like the Seminole properties. I think they're good. But I think Foxwoods and Turning Stone are the places. Because I used to take trips out to Turning Stone, and I would pay for the hotel with poker back when poker was much softer than it is now. It was great. Let's see. Ramon says, been working evenings. Well, that makes sense too. Mike says, Redbird down. Yes, Redbird is, you got a Redbird is a red chip, which is a $5 chip, which is a $5 super chat here. And that's down means in the tip box, which is cool. And Casino Dealer J is awesome. Gloria says, why did you make a YouTube channel? Good question. I was a shift manager in a room in South Florida back in 2011. And while I was there, I always made sure that everybody in the poker room that I was working at was on it. And there was nowhere to send people who needed to correct their fundamentals and correct their dealing. And so I was just like, gosh, I really wish that there was a source on YouTube where people could learn this stuff, because I had to train everyone. Like, it was me training person after person after person on my staff, and it was like I just did it over and over and over and over again. So eventually I just said, you know what, I'm just gonna make a YouTube channel for this. Like, it should be out there, and I'll just do it. And I did, and it was a really cool project, and I got to do it with my friend Jerry, who I interviewed on here about the early days. And I didn't even get to finish it back then. I thought this will be easy to finish, like no problem, I'll be able to get through all these videos, but it was very hard to do everything the way that I was sort of a perfectionist. So, I mean, but yeah, eventually now I have the full course on YouTube, and I'm glad that I started this whole project, and it's one of the coolest experiences, honestly. Having a YouTube channel, I recommend it to everybody. It's just like, when I was making the videos, I was sort of making them how I was picturing how someone would listen to it, and I have a ton of experience as a trainer, and so I was trying to create it that way. And you don't think about it at the time when you're making videos for YouTube. You don't think about what other people's experience are going to be like as much. I was passionate about it. I wanted people to be able to learn how to deal poker, and all that stuff was super important to me. But it didn't occur to me that every single dealer school would start using my mechanics videos for their schools. And I mean, it probably should have occurred to me, but that was the problem I was trying to solve. Was I wanted to be able to send people somewhere to be able to learn how to do these things properly, instead of teaching them over and over and over again in person, because I still had to get all my other work done as a shift manager. Casino Dealer J says, that's right, love craps but love playing poker. Awesome. Only play Yasuo. You are my inspiration to be a dealer. That's awesome. I really like hearing that, and I appreciate that too. DM said, heck yeah, let's hear it. That must have been referring to something we already talked about. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Greg says, all I did that one time was make the rest of the table laugh. Oh, I got you. Okay. DM said, what casino do you think the poker dealers earn the most at? That is hard to tell. The general answer to that is the rooms that have the most action. If the one thing that can happen to poker dealers that is really hard to make a lot of money in a room where you have very few tables, and it's sort of like unstable, and you end up coming in and then just waiting around, and then maybe you get to deal one table every hour or something like that. And so, if you were dealing, most of the time, if you picture it, if you can work at any room where you come in and you're able to deal about 10 tables over the course of your 8-hour shift and then go home, you're going to do pretty well. The bigger the games are, generally the better. Now, the biggest games, you don't always make a ton in tips, but any room that has a lot of action, like when I dealt at the Hard Rock in South Florida, it was great money. I had somebody that said that they got a job in California. I don't know which room out there, but there's someone that was like, they were on my channel in one of my live streams. They literally said in one of my live streams, "Do you have any advice for me as a new poker dealer? My first shift starts in 2 hours." Well, so we talked about that. That was pretty funny. I told him, don't try to go too fast and stuff like that. Speed comes with time. But about 2 weeks later, he came in and he said over the course of his second week, he was making $48 an hour on the average, you know. But that fluctuates for sure. But any room that has a lot going on is great. Also, a room in California that has a lot of 4-8 limit, you're probably going to do pretty well because you get hands out real quick with those games, and the pots are huge looking, even though they're mostly $1 and $2 chips. Let's see. AI48 says, some people believe that post-pandemic poker will see continued seven-handed play. What do you think? I mean, it's hard to tell. I sort of think it's going to go back to at least eight-handed. It's in the casino's best interest if they're taking a rake to keep the tables shorter because then they get to open more tables. But there are also some rooms that don't take a rake. Like time rake games, you would much rather have a 10-handed table for a time rake because every player is paying per half hour and you don't drop every hand. So if you drop every hand, it's in your best interest to keep it short-handed. I think that they're probably going to end up going to 8 though, still instead of 7. I think that 8 is a number that the players will feel better about. There are definitely going to be some players that get used to short-handed that sort of like it because you get to play more hands and you don't have to wait as long in between, but it's really hard to tell. And I know like in Texas, for instance, where they pay per the hour, players come in, they pay per the hour. It doesn't do anything for the room to have there be fewer players at the table. It's much better for them to have more people per table. Let's see. Michael says Doyle must play craps. I know, right? That is how you keep craps chips, and it's totally possible. He could have, for all that, Foxwoods has a lot of craps tables. He could easily have been at the craps table before that, but I don't know. I'm not going to speculate, right? Gloria said, would you come to Canada? I have been to Canada, and I have played poker in Canada before. I used to live in Washington State. It's actually, when I was in Washington State, I lived in Bellingham, Washington, and I worked in a casino right near there. That's how I broke into the industry. And Bellingham, Washington is about a 40-minute drive to Vancouver, and so I went to Cascades and River Rock. Those are a couple of casinos out there. I think there was one other that I visited as well. I liked playing poker in Canada. When you say, would you come to Canada? I guess I don't know exactly what you mean, but I've been to Canada, so it seems likely that I could go again. Let's see. Spiro says, how did making the vlog go a few weeks ago, and did you win the money? So the vlog was freaking amazing. I loved it. I played poker since then, and I was sort of bummed I didn't have a camera recording. It is a lot of work though. So I did it with Michael Lockey, who's in the comments right now. He is the poker pro, and he was playing and recording, and I was playing and recording, and the director of the room, awesome guy, JD and TGT, which is in Tampa. He let us put another camera on the actual table, and I showed it earlier in this video where I showed one of the hands that I played. It was really, really fun. It was really cool, and I did end up making money, but I'm going to have you guys have to watch the video to see how much and if I made money both days, etc. But I did end up making money, and I had a great time, and we ended up with an NFL player at one of the tables. The second day we had an NFL player there, and it was really cool, and he was hilarious. It was a great experience overall. It just sort of worked out. We played 1-3 no limit, and yeah, we played. It was like 7 hours the first day and 6 hours the second day, and we got a lot of good footage. But it takes a lot of work to turn those into a vlog, partly because it was our first time. You know, the second time we do it, we'll be a lot more efficient at it, but there's going to be a lot of good videos that come from that for sure. Probably more than just the vlogs. I also was able to get footage with dealers dealing in all these different settings and scenarios, and the director did say, you know, I promised I wasn't going to put faces in it, which I'm not, but he did say I could use that footage for some of my content as well. And my integrity would only show things that were good from the dealer standpoint. So that was pretty cool as well. And I mean, if I'm being honest, the thing I'm trying to do with these vlogs is I want to play poker. I want to get good recognition of the rooms that I play in. And I'm fine to even just focus on one room for a while. And then I'd like to get an opportunity to jump in the box and record a vlog of that. That would be so fun if I could be a dealer vlogging my experience as a dealer, which, it's gonna take a lot of relationship building with a poker room in order to get to the point where I can do that. So certainly hoping that I get to that. Michael says any great dealer does great at high limit. That's really true too, right? If you're a really good dealer, then the high limit players are much more likely to give you money that they have access to lots of, right? So I can't even tell you the feeling that you get when you're dealing like a 25-50 PLO game or something and you get thrown a black chip when you push like a $20-something thousand pot. It's really, really cool. Those are memories of my dealing time that I will never forget for sure. Let's see. Ramon says, on a 9-player poker table with the top 9 best poker players in the world, what do you think will make the difference, considering that they are all very good? So Ramon, I don't understand exactly what you're trying to ask. Are you saying what is going to make the difference from a poker playing standpoint in terms of who's going to win at the table, or are you asking something else? If you can rephrase that question, I would love to understand what you're trying to ask. B Bun says, what's your opinion on moving 1 or 2 from a full table to start a new game? This is sort of like small poker room questions, and in small poker rooms, you sort of have to do things in order to benefit your poker room. And this isn't just because I happen to know that you work in a small poker room. Like, I have also worked in a 3-table poker room. It was where I broke into the industry. And the answer is you have to carefully learn what you can do with your player base. And you have to... It's like, because, the thing that happens, if you've got... So, first of all, it depends. Are you talking about a 10-handed game, a 9-handed game, or are you doing pandemic 7-handed right now? I think it's probably going to be easier to do this stuff with the pandemic going on because people are very used to short-handed play. For the first time I can remember in my entire poker career, now that there is a pandemic going, players are playing 4-handed sometimes, and they would never do that in the past. But that's like what I mean is a 7-handed game. It gets down to 4, and people still play, and they're like, okay, whatever. The more people will come at some time, whatever. But and just so you guys know, it comes up a lot where if you're in a small poker room, you have 1 table going, and then people come in. The question is, how many does it take to start the second game? Like, do you start it with 4 players and then hope more people come in? Do they want to sit down? Because if you don't start that game when they come in the door, they're just going to leave. So you got to do something. And so that's the real question. What I usually have noticed is there's probably going to be somebody at your main game that's actually interested in going to play short with these other people because maybe they don't want to play with them anymore. And if you sort of commit to any new players that come in going to the original table, and as long as everybody knows that, or something like that, that's not the right solution in most cases, but you got to come up with some kind of a solution, I know I've done it, but I also have known, you also have to know who your players are at the game. Sometimes when I tried to do it, it would be with the wrong people who are going to complain. Sometimes you try to do it, it's fine depending on who's there. So it definitely depends. This is why in a small poker room, it's hard to have policies and stick to them. There's a lot of savvy and awareness that you have to bring into that. Hopefully that answered your question. It's not a specific thing. Like, if I were to answer that for your poker room, I'd have to go and evaluate it specifically. Greg says, Mohegan Sun, hopefully we'll go back to 10-handed. If so, I'll be there. Yeah, I mean, I used to like 10-handed. Now I think I like 9 or 8 better because you get more hands. And I like more hands. Gloria says, how many orbits can you deal in an hour on a full table? Let's see. Let's say full table is, we'll just say 10-handed for the heck of it. And if you're asking about me, I don't remember if I've ever timed myself on a 10-handed game in an hour, but let's say the easiest answer would be for 2-4 limit. They don't count it as a hand generally. Like as a person that's been a supervisor and a shift manager, I've had to count hands for dealers for a down. Sometimes you do that just to see how quickly they go. Nowadays, Bravo keeps track of all that, or whatever poker software you're using will keep track of all that. But let me see. I have Orbit would be 10 hands, so it's going to be really tough to get twice around, let's put it that way. And it only counts to be a hand if it gets to a flop, is what I was trying to say. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. You know, he says AI 48 says 17 to 20 hands average. It depends on the game type and limits. So for a 2-4 limit game, you're gonna be able to crush it, and you might even be able to break 20. But for like a PLO game, you got no shot at 20, and PLO could be 10-handed. Let's see. Greg says, "Hey Mark, how does a must-move game work?" That's a sort of complicated answer, but the simplest version is the first table that opens of that type. So let's say that it's a pot limit Omaha, like a 2-2 PLO. That game is the main game, and then the second game that opens, it's only there to feed the main game. So everybody that's at that second game gets their name on a list in the order that they show up, and they must move or leave the game when a seat opens up at the main game. Doesn't matter if there's 4 people at the second table. Doesn't matter if there's 3 people at the second table. Occasionally, poker rooms will manipulate this and make people wait until someone else fills the back game. But usually, it's as soon as the seat opens at the main game, they send somebody over from the must move. And it's in order. And if somebody decides to pass, then they pass. If you get a third table, then that feeds the second table, which feeds the first table. And it's a lot of work for the staff, honestly. You know, if you're a poker room that knows for sure you're going to get a lot of games and you're doing a must move, after the third game opens, sometimes you make the first and second games both main games, and then the third game is just a feeder because maybe you know you're going to get to a fourth and so on. But that's basically how it works. I've seen that with pot limit Omaha and stuff like that. I've seen it with limit Omaha. I've like 2-4 limit Omaha high low or something like that. I've seen it with 4-8 limit Texas Hold'em at a poker room in Washington that only had 4-8 is the only game they offered, and they just wanted to keep people with a good experience. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm not explaining some of the nuances of it, but that's pretty much how it works. Raph says, "Hey man, I saw the shuffle video. I'm practicing for a couple of hours already. It's really hard to get the cards together and put them into each other smoothly. Any tips?" I do have some tips. Let me see. So first, on Truepokerdealer.com, I am putting together a course that has tests and quizzes and stuff like that in addition to all the video content. It's a similar version of what's on YouTube right now, and I've actually been addressing some of this stuff, which is why I mention it. But one of the things you want to make sure of, number one, you want to make sure that your pinkies are completely flat on the outsides of the deck while you're shuffling it. If your pinkies are not flat on the outsides, it's going to be harder to get it to be as smooth. You also want to make sure that your thumbs... let me see. Do I have a deck right here? Let me grab a deck and I'll sort of show you. I think I have it in my backpack over here. I'm coming back. Don't you worry. All right, here's my deck. So, yeah, I mentioned earlier my table sort of collapsed, so I'm working on a solution to that. So let's see. I'm gonna pull this up so I can see myself better. So when you go to shuffle and you get your thumbs in the back, you want to really make sure that your thumbs are right on the corners and you have full control of the corners of the cards. You don't want your thumbs to be inside like this. You don't get as fine control. So if you get your thumbs fully on the corners, then where's the camera? Then when they come together, well, you can't totally see that. But I'm trying to air shuffle here too because of the equipment that I have together right now for this. But that's really the answer here is thumbs on the corners, like really with full control over the corners with your thumb when you're pulling them down. That's going to help a lot. And pinkies flat on the outside. And then the only other thing I would say is make sure that your index fingers are flat on the top. It's really hard to get your index fingers to be flat if your pinkies are not flat on the outside. And flat on the outside would look like this, where it's like flat on the outside. When you're going to shuffle, you've got this grip right here. Your pinkies are doing a lot of the work. You know, I'm basically just holding this between my thumb on the corner and my pinky on the flat on the outside. That's where the grip is, and that's what makes it smooth. And also, look, if your cards are old or they're paper and they're not plastic, it's going to be harder. And then I guess the last thing, just in case this is what you're experiencing, if you're not shuffling on the proper surface, it's going to be very difficult. So you need some kind of a felt, or you could use a mouse pad or something like that, but you also need some padding underneath the felt or the mouse pad. Without that, it's going to be real tough to get underneath the cards. Let's see. I hope that answered your question. DM, the casino I play at regularly uses the rule of the line. If chips cross the line, they have to bet it. Others use the forward motion rule. Can you explain the forward motion rule? Yes. So the betting line I don't like personally. I like having a line on the table because it does sort of get people to use it, but it just makes it easier for the dealers. The forward motion rule is a little bit more complicated and less straightforward, but it's much easier to deal with because it's not booby trapped as much. But basically the forward motion rule, it has a few variations. One of them is a working space. If you go out of your working space with chips, then you bet. The other one is if you go in front of your cards, something like that. But whichever of those it is, if you leave the place where you don't bet and go to the place where you do bet, then you have bet. And the amount that you bet in most poker rooms, not all of them, but in most poker rooms is going to be the amount that you release if you're holding the chips in your hand. And if you're sliding the chips flat on the surface, it's going to be the amount that you're sliding. So sliding is all of them. Now, that being said, sometimes someone will slide and then pick up and put sideways and pull some back, and that's generally considered okay. But I mean, you know, when you do things like that, you're sort of putting yourself at risk for what it's worth. If you're holding the chips, you could slide them but be holding them like this. That's sliding and holding it. It's different than if you push them out and slide them without control over them. That's usually going to just make that whole stack a bet. But the real thing you're asking is, what's the forward motion rule? The forward motion rule is if you leave your non-betting area and go into your betting area as defined by the poker room that you're in, that is going to be a minimum bet or call in most poker rooms. Let's see. Ramon says yes. Who will win and why? Yes. Who will win and why? Oh, so I'm getting back to this one now. Okay. So Michael Lockey is the poker pro, and one thing that I have learned. So the original question here was, on a 9-player poker table with the top 9 best poker players in the world, what do you think will make the difference, considering they are all very good? Well, for them to be the best, they do have to be very good. So Michael Lockey is the poker pro. I've worked with him now. I am a winning poker player lifetime, no question about it. I've played thousands of hours of poker. Until I started actually working on live poker coaching with Michael Lockey, I thought I was good at poker, and I now realize how far I have to go. It's a completely another level between people that actually get it and myself, is all that I want to say. But it's actually really doable. It's learnable. And going through this live poker coaching process, I've learned that I cannot answer this question is the truth of it. What I think it is, I think that being able to range your opponents based on information that I couldn't comprehend in this moment with my current experience level is really what it comes down to, and understanding how my hand interacts with those players is what the top skill is. So I think it comes down to a true understanding of the information that's in front of the players. And I do think it's possible for the top player at that table to still be head and shoulders above everybody else. I really do think that's possible. And then there's also, like, when you get to the top level of poker, and you know, if Mike is still there, I'd love for him to comment on this, but when you get to the top level of poker, a brain that is close to a solver as possible is probably the best brain you can have, right? And a solver is a thing in poker where there's poker solvers that take a specific situation and simulate out what the best decision is for that situation and amount to bet if that's a factor. And just being able to do that stuff as accurately as possible is probably it. And then there's also the factor of familiarity with other players. If you have one of those players that for some reason is incredibly familiar with the other 8 and the other 8 are not as familiar with that one player, that does make it a bit more challenging. But like for instance, Brad Owen put out a video when he was playing at TCH Live in Austin, and he was playing, I think it was 510, and he had an advantage over another player at the table, because the other player at the table was talking on his social media, saying how he was going to come get him and all this stuff, and Brad didn't really respond to it at all, but he saw it all. So when he gets to the table, he was able to use that information that the other player didn't know that he had against him, and he ended up making a much different bet than he normally would have. That was much larger than normal when he had the nuts, and the other player raised him with nothing, and Brad basically knew the whole time that the other player was going to, because he'd watched Brad and seen his stuff, he was going to take him down, and it ended up being perfect for Brad, and he ended up winning an extra like $4,000 in that particular hand. It's a question of who has more information about the other people is really what it comes down to. And again, I'm not qualified to answer this, so I'm going to move on. Gloria says, I love you and your channel. Thanks for answering my questions. You're welcome, and I'm happy to have you here. Greg says, I usually see it with 510 no limited up. The must move game, I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Here's the thing. With a must move, it absolutely stinks to open a game, have your game break, or open a game. So the first game that opens, say you're playing 510, you open a game. The second game that opens is open, and then 30 minutes after the second game opens, the first game breaks, those players can't play anymore, and there's no seats on the other table. It's like the most infuriating thing to happen as a poker player. And so that's why they have must move games, because without the must move game, those people will keep getting screwed basically. And so that's why they do that. Gloria says, please teach me more poker. I can deal every game from dice to card, Pai Gow, but not Omaha and Hold'em. Please help. Gloria, I super appreciate all that request. I have a course that teaches that. Just join my channel and you will get everything that you need. You will have access to me. Just join the channel is all I can say. All Texas Hold'em lessons, or if you want Omaha. Well, I would start with the All Texas Hold'em lessons if you don't know Omaha yet, because that's going to give you all the basics, and there's no need to pay for the Omaha one where you also get access to the Hold'em stuff. You just start with the one that you want to start with, and you can go to Omaha after. Greg says, given a choice between manual and shuffling and machine shuffling, which you prefer and why? So I appreciate that question, Greg. I recently interviewed a couple of magicians on Truepokerdealer on YouTube, and I 100% am in favor of shuffle machines now that I've seen live in front of me what they can do. If you guys want to watch those videos, they're pretty fascinating on with Magician Macedo. The question we asked was, this was like 6 weeks ago, can a casino dealer beat surveillance? Or can a magician beat surveillance? And it was pretty fascinating, but yes, I absolutely believe in shuffle machines now, 100%. You got to keep in mind too, I interviewed the director of the room in Virginia that's going to be opening soon as well, and we were talking about shuffle machines and what's required in order for them to be a shuffle machine. The amount of testing that they have to go through because of the fact that they have to be licensed through a state, the amount of testing that they have to go through in order to ensure that they're random is like, it's the most comforting thing once you actually study it. There's nothing to worry about with shuffle machines because of all that testing. Now, could somebody go in and manipulate one of them? I suppose so, but it would be hard. They go through a lot in order to become a shuffle machine in a casino. It's part of why they're so expensive. It's not the parts, it's the process of getting them into casinos. DM says, Gloria, if you can pitch cards to each player and pay attention to where the action is, you can deal Omaha and Hold'em pretty easy. Yep. Forward motion rule. Thank you for your answer. I like your explanations. You're welcome. AI48. TDA recently made a rule change, no longer allowing a player to announce raise, put in call amount, then go back to stack for raising chips. Why? That's interesting that you say that. I have gone through the entire TDA manual in detail, and I don't remember seeing that that's true. So could you actually tell me what TDA rule number you're talking about, and I can speak to it? I literally sat down and watched the entire 7 to 8 hours worth of 2019 TDA Summit content that was posted online, and I was at the TDA Summit in 2017, and I don't remember ever seeing the thing that you just said as an actual rule. I could totally be wrong. It's an enormous amount of content and information. So it's like, it's one of those things where I sort of believe you, but I don't know that that's right, because I was there for a lot of the stuff, and I watched all those videos, took notes on them. Actually, let me see, because I have the notes of that still. I could look that up right now. Let me see. No longer, you're saying they can no longer say call and then go back. Or they can no longer say raise, put the call amount and then go back. Where are these notes? Well, let me keep going through the questions here. Glory, he's uploaded all the poker info on his channel. Carter, hey man, how are you? You taught me to deal well. My first hand the other day was 4-5 off, and the flop was 5-5-5. Awesome. I'm doing great. Thank you. I appreciate you saying hey. I just joined to be a channel member, and I have access to these videos. Yes. So there's two things you can do with the YouTube channel. One is subscribe. While I love people subscribing, that's not the thing that you're asking about right now. You're asking about joining. So you'd have to click the join button. You'll see 3 different options there. Here, I can just show you. Let me pull this up. What do I have on the screen at the moment? I have this. So I'll go to... yeah, I'll show you. It'll take 1 second. Let's see. So you can see if you click the join button. Oh, I have to share it, I guess. So you can see here, if you click the join button under any video on my channel, it gives you 3 different options. The 60 hours of live streams is something that gives you access to all my previous live streams, where I teach stuff here and there, but it's not the same as the course. The $49.99 a month, all Texas Hold'em lessons, $50 a month is nothing. It's why I did it this way, because $1,200 for a school is something that, Mike Lockey was saying when he learned how to deal, he paid for 2 schools, and it was like $2,500 total between the 2 of them. So here it is. I put it at $50 a month. This is what you would need in order to be able to pass the casino dealer auditions. And then if you want to be able to deal Omaha and all that stuff too, after you finish the All Texas Hold'em lessons, you could jump in and create and go to the bonus mix games where you get the rest of it. But this teaches you enough to pass your audition. I make it pretty simple, honestly. There's a reasonable amount of time you have to put into it. I'm not gonna lie. But I also teach all the mechanics, and if you know how to deal the other games, you have all that stuff, so you could probably just skip it. But yeah, I go through everything, so that is hopefully what you're looking for. But yeah, and then you have access to all the videos. If you go here, let me go back to this. If you go to the playlists section, so you could go to, I'm just gonna go find it real quick. Your channel playlists. If you go to the Texas Hold'em, how to deal Texas Hold'em, you can see what I teach. So I show all of it here. My head's in the way now. Let me get myself out of there. There's a lot to keep track of when you're streaming. It's crazy. It is what it is. But you can see here, there's dealing a hand on 1-2 no limit Texas Hold'em. If it says newly edited, that means that I have made it a lot easier for you to watch this video, because these were originally live streams that I knew, everybody knew that they were going to be the paid course, but I wanted to do it with people asking questions and stuff because I figured it would be better that way. Also, it was probably more fun for me there too. And the newly edited ones are when I went through and I cut out all the dead time. And I also linked everything in the video with info about what's in each video. And I've made it to here so far. And this is the one I'm working on that's driving me absolutely crazy because some of the audio is not synced, but that's just me venting. Poker dealers vent a lot. It's okay. But yeah, here's all the stuff you can see. The showdown, the rake promo, drops, tips, technical rules of betting, missed deals, action out of turn, premature cards, straddles, kills, missed blinds, how the button moves, buying the button, how to run your game, side pots and multi-way all-ins, interacting with the floor. I'm actually really excited to go back and edit this video because I really had a great time talking about interacting with the floor with Mike. A lot of the stuff that I teach in here, like I said, a lot of the stuff I teach in here is not only going to get you to pass your audition, but it's going to help somebody understand what it's like to be a poker dealer and some of the stuff that happens after you get the job that nobody talks about. So I got Limit Texas Hold'em, tournaments, things I missed, and then a couple things for people in home games as well. So yeah, you get access to all of that if you join the channel at that level. And let's see. Yeah, B-Bun says, I've made my investment in Truepokerdealer back hundreds of times over. I appreciate that. You were nice enough to do a testimonial for me as well, which I have put that together, and super cool of you to do that. Yeah, it was cool. I liked doing the audition with you too. It's just good times, man. Linda says, I don't understand angle shooting. Well, there's a lot of stuff that a player can do. Angle shooting is basically anytime a poker player is taking a shot at the table, quote unquote. And what it refers to, I'm not sure who said it in here. Maybe like you might have just said you've heard that term in the past. I don't think I saw it in the chat here, and I don't remember saying it. But angle shooting is something like, it's basically when someone's trying to give themselves an angle outside the rules, is a simple way to say it. As a poker dealer, you have to be aware of it because people are trying to give themselves an edge all the time. Not everybody does it with integrity. So a poker player could totally... So there's this thing when you're dealing poker where, say, you're dealing 1-2 no limit and somebody bets 50 on the flop, and then another person calls, and another person calls, and another person calls. Okay, as the dealer, you are often taught to bring all the bets in first, bring them to the pot, then bring the next card. But a lot of dealers want to speed things up and take a shortcut, and they leave the bets out there, and then they, after bringing the turn, they start collecting the bets from the previous street. Well, I have seen in a poker room a player take back their 50 with a dealer that had a lot going on, right? That would be an angle. They would be trying to make an extra 50 bucks or save their 50 bucks and still get to see the next card. And you know, the players can be pretty savvy trying to figure out the angles that they can shoot, so to speak. Oh, I guess I didn't see that. Oh, okay. DM says AI48, maybe they determined that players angle shoot too often with that. Yeah, totally possible. Did you, let me see. I don't see the actual rule in there, so I would have to check that out. I am pretty low on time right now. I got to stop in about 5 minutes, guys. So I'm going to try to sort of fly through the rest of the comments here. I love that everybody's so into this and commenting so much. You guys are great. Let me see. Where are we here? What would you do with a faulty deck if it's discovered after... B-Bun says, what would you do with a faulty deck if it's discovered after a card is burned but before bringing the flop? If you truly mean faulty deck, then that would just give everybody their money back from the hand. If a deck is not complete or something like that at any time throughout the hand, of course, this depends on the rules of the state that you're in to a degree as well. I know that came up in the TDA conversation. Different states have some actual rules about this, or laws rather, regulations, if you will. But generally speaking, if you find that a deck is faulty, everybody gets every bet back from that hand and it doesn't count. So you have to return, you have to figure out how much everyone put in and return everyone's money. And that can be even after the river. If the deck is truly faulty, like say you found out there were just 51 cards in the deck, everybody gets their money back. Now I can't say every single poker room is going to do it that way, but that's pretty common. Let me see, Spiros, whatever happened to your original Truepokerdealer logo table, and how did that how was that printed on the felt? That's at my friend Jerry's house. I didn't have the heart to take it from him. It's also a huge table, so I don't have the space for it at the moment, but I will have another table like that. I have this right here, which this is the same quality felt, and I was able to get this made. It's like a $300 felt. Is it upside down or sideways? And I've got this thing ready to go as soon as I get the space that I want in order to have another table. But This felt is gaming suede, and I was going to do a review for Chanman Poker Tables. He sent that to me to do a review, and then he said that the 200 yards of felt that he replaced that with was different, and so not to do the review, which I was sort of bummed about. But that, like, I'm super excited to get back to that. And the True Poker Dealer logo that you see behind me is a picture of the table that I have. So, but yeah, I still have access to that table, sort of. It's at Jerry's house. I could go there if I wanted, except it's COVID right now, and he's a little bit older. Like, you guys probably might have seen him. I did an interview with him recently, and he doesn't want anybody there, so I don't blame him, and I'm not going to push it. But when COVID's done, I could certainly go back and do some more recording on that table. Let me see. There's a link here. I want to see what it goes to. B-Buns put a link and said he used this here. Casino Supply custom game layout. Cool. Let's see. Did you ever have a guy on your table and think, this guy ain't legit? It depends what you mean. I have definitely investigated people for cheating, and I have found cheaters a handful of times. The thing that usually happens is somebody will come and tell me when I'm a supervisor or a shift manager, and the shift manager has to go to surveillance to actually watch what happened. Yeah, I've seen a few cases of stuff like that, and we have to kick people out, and depending on the severity of what they do, it can be lifetime or it can be less than lifetime. Gloria says, have you collabed with Brad Owens? I have not. I appreciate that question. Brad Owens is a poker vlogger, for anyone that doesn't know. I am a poker dealer trainer, and so he probably doesn't know much about my particular industry because he's on the playing side. And I know I have a YouTube channel that, you know, has a lot of people that really like the stuff that I put out, but it's still a different thing. Maybe after I vlog a few times, he and I could do something, but he's definitely not someone in my circle. And I mean, honestly, Michael Lockey is a poker pro. Brad is amazing. He creates great content. I really like it. The people that were playing at the table with Mike and me when we were doing that really liked him too. But I'm telling you guys, the vlog that Mike's going to put out, the aha moments are going to be much stronger for the stuff that Mike puts out there. And I'm excited for that content to get made. So the answer is I'm really excited to do this stuff with Michael Lockey because I have seen what he's capable of through live poker coaching. I've done this stuff with him, and there's definitely a difference between a pro poker player and a poker vlogger. I'll put it at that. Let's see. T-Day rule change. Rule number 42, methods of raising. 2 motion raises eliminated 2019. All right, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to go right to it. PokerTDA.com. I'll let you guys watch me go right to it. We'll share it right here. And we'll make it bigger. Why not? Let's see. All right, yeah, I got to put it over here so everyone can see. I'm just fiddling with the size of this. This is PokerTDA.com. You can find all that stuff there. I appreciate you making it easier for me so I didn't have to find this. Okay, so TDA Poker rules. And we're going in here. And these are the red line ones for 2019. And you're saying number 42. It's like, I know I got to go in a minute, but I sort of want to look at this anyway. All right, so it says, 2 motion raises eliminated. I gotcha. So that's. Let me make sure. I'm gonna reread your question because I think there's a different thing than what you said. TDA recently made a rule change, no longer allowing a player to announce raise, put in call amount, then go back to stack. So that's not what they were saying. I do appreciate this question. These things are complicated. The thing that this is saying is that a player is no longer allowed to declare let me see. In no limit or pot limit, a raise must be made by pushing out the full amount in one motion, which is A, or B, verbally declaring the full amount prior to pushing out chips. And then it used to say C, something about allowing you to put out a raise with more than one motion. So there used to be this mentality in poker where you were allowed to go forward and then go back and go forward and go back and go forward and go back with multiple chips as long as you all did it, as long as you did it continuously and continuously and continuously. And this came from a time where there were more poker chips on the table than there are today. You used to have lots more chips in tournaments and some cash games. Like, you know, I used to play 2-5 no limit at Foxwoods, all with red chips. They might even still do that. So if you had $2,000 at the table, well, if you have 2,000 at the table in South Florida where I'm at, you're gonna have, you know, a couple stacks of green, some black, and maybe a few stacks of red. But at Foxwoods, it used to be all red chips. And so they used to allow players, if they didn't say anything, to start betting and just keep going back for more chips because they knew you couldn't push them all in one motion, and you also couldn't say how much you were going to bet. Tournaments used to have the same thing, where they had this grandfathered in rule where you allowed to make more than one motion without saying anything. As long as you keep going back and forth consistently, it was allowed. Same thing with 2 hands. You could take 2 hands, one stack, and it would all be considered one raise, and that's what's been eliminated. If somebody says raise and they put the call amount in first, they are still allowed to put a raise amount. That hasn't changed. That's not a 2-motion raise in the same sense. That's saying raise and then going and putting the call amount. That's not a raise. And then 1 motion with a raise. It's still allowed. I appreciate you finding that and asking that question. But yeah, you're still allowed to say raise, put the exact call amount in first, and then put a raise in after in 1 motion. And I do just want to clarify one thing here too to make sure. Yeah, so, and then it does say it's the responsibility of players to make their intentions clear. Let's see. Do you think selling TPD branded things? I do have some things for sale for Truepokerdealer. I appreciate that. Maybe that's what the winky face is for. This isn't one of them, but I have a sweatshirt, I have a mask and stuff like that. I'm working on making the course really, really, really good. Like right now the course is excellent, but I want it to be something where it's almost effortless to a point for somebody to go in and learn how to deal poker. That's why I'm cutting out the dead time, because they used to be live streams, and I'm adding some quizzes and stuff like that. And I'm adding some footage of dealing in the casino where, you know, you guys can see, look, I mean, I've got 7 hours of footage that's this basically, and wait a minute, I hit the wrong thing here. And do you want to keep them? Discard. Oh, I see. I just want to show this real quick so you guys see what I'm talking about, because why not? You know, I've got 7 hours of footage of this table and permission from the director to use this. So I want to add this stuff to the course as well, so you can see real dealers with real players in real situations when I'm teaching this stuff. All that stuff's going to get into the course. Then I'll probably work on something like branding and all that. But I appreciate that question. Let me see. Linda, thanks again for all the info. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you too, and you're welcome. Rate says, what can I use at a home game if I do not have any poker chips? Coins, maybe? It's the only thing I've really ever seen other than actual poker chips. But you could go on Amazon and buy poker chips, but like a full set of poker chips for like $30 nowadays. It's really not that bad. Let's see. B-Bun says, bye and Happy New Year. I appreciate you guys helping me leave because I'm late right now. DM says, Thin Mints, trust me, cookies. Oh yeah, you could use crackers. Well, I don't know. It's messy though if you do all that stuff. Casino Dealer J says, happy holidays to you, Mark, and everyone on the channel. Stay safe. Let me see. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's one comment there that I want to respond to in a second here. Let me find. I want to pull something up and show you guys what I have. Like when it comes to merchandise, I'm pretty excited for whenever I get around to it, but you know, stuff takes time. It takes time in order to get it all done. But you know, speaking of Truepokerdealer cards, let's see. I do have, well, I have this created already. There's so much stuff to look through. There it is. So I've got this. Like the thing I'm trying to say basically is it's a lot of work to do all this stuff, and it's pretty much just me. Like at least with live poker coaching, I got a team, right? But I do have cards, and you can see they look like this. This is way too big. I don't need it to be this big. But yeah, I've got the logoed Truepokerdealer cards, and we sent them out for a sample, but this stuff takes a while to get back. So, you know, maybe one day soon I'll have stuff like that. I'm feeling good about everything. But yeah, all right, I do have to go now. I appreciate all the comments, and, you know, Happy New Year to everybody. Eddie says, how much is the mask and how can I get one? Fine. All right, hold on. Let's see. How do I put the mask up easily? I gotta see if it's simple to purchase right now. I might be able to just log in and create a link for it. Continue with this. No, it's not that. I'm going to take a second and I'm going to find this, and then you will have your answer, but it's tough. I got to figure out what account I put it in. I put all my Truepokerdealer stuff in some account, but I'm not sure which one. This looks like it. Here's this. Where is it? I wear this thing all the time when I play poker. It's sort of funny. And it definitely starts conversations with people, which I enjoy. But how would somebody get this? I mean, it looks like this will work. All right, the listing is right here. So I think that'll work. And it's not that expensive. That's the one that I got. Maybe I should probably, I mean, honestly, I should probably put that somewhere, right? But, so I do want to warn you though, Ramon says it's all about advertising your stuff to sell. Look, I totally get it. It's just, I'm one person. I got a lot of work I'm trying to do to get the course good. And I promise you, I understand that there's money to be made with merchandise. I love that you guys want this. I really, really appreciate it. But I also can make money off the course. So it's like, I gotta do all of it. You know, if I put a team together, maybe if this is making a lot of money, then I can hire people to do it, but I don't have that ability to do yet. Oh, you guys like the design? That's great. Yeah, it was actually my close friend and the director at TCH in Dallas that helped me put the design on the card backs, which I thought was really cool of him. But yeah, maybe I should start interning people, right? Like business intern or something. But yeah, Eddie, there you go. There's the link. You should be able to buy it there. Oh, the thing I was going to warn you in, when I got my mask, you can see here, I had to sew in a little bit of extra elastic because it wasn't quite big enough to fit my particular face and head. But you said, are the cards quality Copag? The cards that you see that design logo on are cards that are casino cards that are in casinos, but they're not Copags. And I'm waiting for the sample to make an actual determination on them. But I mean, at the end of the day, if I can put a logo on the back of whatever cards this is, the benefit is I was able to get a actual casino vendor to sell directly to me. It's hard to do that because most of them will only sell to casinos. So, you know, to a degree, I have to sort of go with what I can go with, but I will figure it out. I should be able to do it there. I really appreciate all you guys. I'm going to jump off now. I I'm in somebody else's living room for this live stream, and they're going to be back in 3 minutes with their kids. So I can't continue to do the live stream now. It wouldn't be right. So I'm going to say bye. I'm going to say thank you guys very much for being here. I've had a great time, and I'll see you soon.